the audio and video.
Yes.
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 Welcome.
Hey!
Should we stand up? Because
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks so much for coming.
Selfie.
It is yes. It is Codepocalypse. Do you have a phone?
Yes, we have a phone.
Yeah.
We
Let's
have your phone.
do selfie.
Selfie. I mean, you're
obligatory.
here for like longest time, so.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we will do
All right.
another one,
Okay.
but the more people will show up.
Yeah.
One more time. It is Codepocalypse now.
Codepocalypse.
LangChain4j and Spring AI. Anyone else expecting anything else? It's going to be 3 hours. There's going to be no stops, no breaks.
No, there was a break.
Okay.
Well, why are you scaring people? There'll be a break.
Yeah, okay. So
They're polite people. They will sit here 3 hours.
yeah, there's going to be a very important slide about us if you want to follow us or engage in the conversation after this incredible meetup or incredible presentation.
More importantly, here on both of them, we will have the same page. You will find all the resources that we are going to do today. All the source code, all the prompts, all the snippets, the video that Viktor is planning to do very complicated
Yeah,
video
it's going to be
setup.
cool. It's going to be awesome.
Right, so everything is going to be either here or there. There will be like a page dedicated to this session. You go in and you will see the links and the video and everything else.
But you still need to follow us in social media to engage in conversation after this incredible presentation.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this? So first of all, in every time when we're doing something, we need to answer the question like, why are we doing this? And in my personal,
What do you mean?
like, why are we doing this presentation? Like,
We're doing this presentation because that's our opportunity to get to Paris.
Yes.
Okay.
However, there is also like people who came here and they're expecting us to be, have opinions about the things.
Oh, we have opinions. Yes.
And why we need to use frameworks in this particular case, why we need to deal with LLMs. Who thinks that it's the LLMs will replace you?
Let's do something else. Who thinks LLMs are great? Okay. Who thinks LLMs are terrible? Same people, right? Pretty much. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so why do we need LLMs inside our code? We understand why we need it to ask, oh, I have a pain here in my side. I will never go to doctor because I'm a man. So I'll ask ChatGPT and it will tell me what hurts. That's obviously a great use case. We all do it. But why do we need it embedded in our code? Why do we need to embed it in our code?
So, couple things. Because we are working for businesses. We're working for businesses to make some money, and like AI right now is everywhere, and we're not looking to debate about, it should be here to stay or whatnot. So our idea is that teach you how to leverage and be experienced and use this as a tool. As you know,
what's the first use case that business people think about how they add AI to their to the software? Like the first use case, like business, they don't know what RAG is. Chatbot, perfect. All right, so here you go. That's the use case. That's what we are doing. We're going to implement chatbot in your application, in our application. Now, how do we do it? Obviously, OpenAI, ChatGPT has API, right? Mm-hmm. It does. Okay,
so here's the thing. I think it was Arthur Clarke who said that technology that is quite advanced, undistinguishable from magic. So that's why people who start using this ChatGPT application or Claude Desktop, they start thinking that, oh, this is something magical, it does the things. But we as engineers, we understand there's no magics there. And some of the things that when we're going to be talking today, we're not going to be talking about ChatGPT because ChatGPT is the application by itself. It has its own features and all these kind of like magical things with like memory or remembering what you said. That does this application. Because API for our things that we're going to be using today, it's going to be looking exactly like this. All the time, what we're going to be doing.
Yep.
All the time, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking the JSON one way or another and send this JSON to OpenAI server. And you know what? Like every time when we will be interacting with this, we know this, it's HTTP, there's no state.
So I'm looking at this code. In the end of the day, it's just an HTTP call.
Yeah.
Byte array, sent to the server, and we get back result.
Yeah, correct.
So there is no magic on this side.
Correct.
All right. So why do we need frameworks on top of that? We know how to do REST API calls like for years. So what's going on? Why the frameworks?
I want to quickly show, like, you don't need even frameworks. You can do things like this. You can use curl, and that's your, this is how you get connection to.
Yep, to OpenAI.
Yeah. And we will get some response. Connects, sends the request to cloud. OpenAI gives the answer and bunch of stuff. That's it. If I will ask this question, for example, if I will be asking like, what's my name, or I will provide this with the conversation, next time when I will be asking this, it will forget.
Okay, so here we go. Now we get into the limitations of this simple HTTP request. First of all, it's stateless. Every request, it's a brand new story, and it doesn't remember history.
Cool
it
photo.
doesn't remember history. That's number one. What else? Obviously, remember ChatGPT that was telling you about that it cut date of August 2021 something?
Yeah, we can actually ask, like, what is your,
Yeah, what is your cut date?
Yeah, let me see. And in the question, I'll go this, like, okay, what is, let's do this one. So we're going to be using
news. Ask about news.
IntelliJ ID has its own. Okay. What
happened
is
last
your,
yeah. What happened last week?
Your cut. Okay,
date.
what has happened last week?
Yep.
And
Okay.
we'll try to
So
send this.
we'll see the result. The idea is that I'm AI. I cannot provide real-time updates.
Yep.
We know that today you ask ChatGPT about the news, it will give you the news. How does it work? It brings more information from outside. It parses the internet. So that's another interesting feature. The first is to remember to keep state in conversation. The second is bring more information on top of the model that we learned, that it learned upon.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is
So
What else?
in the GPT, in ChatGPT, and all these LLM models, we're gonna be dealing general purpose. Sometimes they trained in a certain way, but most important part here, they are pre-trained. So meaning that you don't need to spend your cycles on your machines in order to train those models. Companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Mistral, and others, Facebook, and they have resources where they can use to train models. And that's why we have this cutoff date, because they need to get this data from all internets, put this in a file that can be ingested in this the procedure how they train model. I'm not an AI engineer in sense of kind of like not ML engineer or whatever, but these models we're going to be using pre-trained, meaning that they know something. If we will be asking some of the generic questions about generic stuff, it will give us an answer. But we're more interested how we can use this approach not only for generic stuff, but also for very specific stuff. Who said the chatbot is the kind of
Everybody.
use case? Everybody said that. So yeah, we're gonna use the chatbot. We were thinking.
Wait, so on top of the bare model, number one is state, number two is updated information, number three, maybe we don't want to use OpenAI model.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we want to use Mistral because France. Maybe we want to use local model and not do an API call to the server. So that's something else that framework will help us to abstract.
Yes.
Okay, what else? Another thing that I want to talk to you about is who used Code Assistant inside IDE, like with LLM. Most of you, right?
Like, keep your hands. Like, who enjoyed experience and will continue to do this? Okay,
not bad.
We
not
have
bad.
enthusiasts here.
Yes. Now, me personally, the most annoying thing is that for the model, the code is plain text. I am inside the most powerful IDE, IntelliJ IDEA, for example. It already knows how to fix my code 99% of the time. My code assistant is completely clueless about all of that. It will try to guess which import it should use. I mean, how stupid is that? Don't guess. You are inside IDE, ask the IDE. Now, turns out that the process of ask the IDE is not very trivial, because obviously there are some APIs about asking IDE, and those APIs are different for every tool. So it would be nice if AI could use APIs for different tools. And we are now in a very interesting time where an absolutely shitty protocol takes over the world.
Yep. Anyone heard about MCP?
Right.
We're gonna talk about this later. Later today, we're gonna explore some of the things.
It's terrible. It's really bad, and more companies are actually implementing it because done is better than perfect. We are so badly in need of the protocol that will allow the LLMs asking tool-specific questions, then even this crappy protocol is taking over the world because it's better than nothing.
Correct.
So that's another use case, right? So we already have 4. I think that's kind of a good list to start.
Yeah, and in order to make this not only presentation or just like showing you demos and all this kind of stuff, we decided to, what the hell? Like, we're not going to write any type of any code here. You know, we just like, we have the tools to write this code.
It's a presentation about AI.
Why not AI?
We are going to use AI to write and run the demos.
Why not?
Who thinks it's a good idea?
I think it's a great idea. I know, like
it's a terrible
how
idea.
many times you've seen the live coding when the speaker would be kind of like switching back and forth. It's kind of like, okay, copy paste. You know, it's not interesting. Just
2025.
Yeah.
You live once.
Exactly.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it.
It's going to be terrible. Let's do it.
Who got the reference? Anyone?
We'll do it live.
We'll
no,
do it live.
it's American joke.
It's
yeah,
American joke.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so there's a couple things. And again, we were thinking that it would be a cool idea to write the AI chatbot application using like AI tools to write this application. But as everything is not so much, it's like iceberg. You know, you can have like something on top. You can see some cool demos how people like vibe coding. It's nice, kind of like swipe the credit card, and after that, kind of it does everything for you. However, like there is multiple things you need to be doing in order this to look kind of like a cool and presentable. And that's why like we spend some time researching the tools, researching different frameworks, and trying to find a way how we can wrangle all these things. Because if you just go there, say like a Cursor or Windsurf or like Juni and say something like write me Spring Boot application, it will write me Spring Boot application. But your expectations would be very different from what Juni will interpret your expectation here, or Cursor or whoever. So that's why we very adamant that it will require some wrangling. And there's a few approaches. And you're here for a treat because what the hell, like it's a 3-hour session. We're gonna show you 2 different approaches. They're not too distinct, but it's kind of like a more. Shall
we vibe code already?
Yeah,
we will figure it out as we go. Let's get started. Okay. So the idea is.
You wanna?
Yep. So the idea is, I'm going to show you how LangChain4j is going to implement a chatbot assistant. We're going to go through the stages, starting with bare LLM integration, and then adding state, adding RAG, switching model, everything that we spoke about. Most of it obviously won't work because we're vibe coding, but as I mentioned, it's going to be it's going to be fun. Now, Viktor will show you something very similar done with Spring AI. So I will write a Quarkus application with LangChain4j. Viktor is going to write Spring Boot application with Spring AI, and you will get a feeling of how those frameworks look similarly and how they are different. On top of that, I will use Windsurf as my vibe coding AI. I will use Cascade inside Windsurf IDE, and Windsurf is a clone of VS Studio. And Viktor is going to use IntelliJ and its agent, Juni, to do the same. I'm going to use a very naive vibe coding approach. I will just ask the application to write demos. Viktor is going to use a different approach called prompt-driven development.
Trademark pending.
Hashtag Baruch has a presentation about this.
Yes, Baruch has a presentation about this. And there would be...
And I will show you this presentation while we get to it. All right, so let's get started already. The most important part for vibe coding is, except of having unlimited budget, obviously, is the rules. Cascade rules, Windsurf rules, Juni guidelines, they have different names in different IDEs, but the idea is exactly the same. You try really hard to make LLM to generate the code that you want. Most of the time it won't, and the only question is how close you will be to what you want to achieve. And for that, you really need to try very, very hard to be very specific. So this is the rules for our demo. And there is like absolutely insane stuff, like deliberately ignore production best practices. What can possibly go wrong? I had to edit because otherwise this demo would be like absolutely insanely huge, because it will do observability and security, QRS, protection, and a bunch of stuff that we don't need for this demo. So I had to use that. This is where we set up our stack. So I'm saying use Kotlin, use Gradle, Kotlin DNSL, use Gradle wrapper command to generate wrapper files. That's like, duh. Well, not really. It will actually compose the contents of a jar file from the examples that it finds on the internet. Guess if it works. Right? Okay. And here where we get to the interesting stuff. Use Quarkus as the application framework for minimal features. Now, generally, LangChain4j is not tied to Quarkus. You can use it outside of Quarkus. But you will probably need some kind of framework to write your application. Now, you have a lot of choices, but practically you have two. You either do Spring or you do
something else.
Not Spring.
Not Spring, yes.
And not Spring, 90% of the time will be Quarkus. If you do Spring, you do Spring AI. So if you do not Spring, you will do Quarkus with LangChain4j. And that's a very solid choice. And I'm saying it not just because I represent it, but because it is a very good framework. So we will do Quarkus application. Do not implement unnecessary features like health checks, metrics, security. Don't do any of that because it's demo. Use LangChain4j for that's kind of the most important part, right? Now, there is a bunch of other stuff. Something that you probably shouldn't, but again, for the sake of our demo, I really hard code the list of all the dependencies because otherwise it will be all over the place.
Can I add one thing? So, any Scala developers in the room? Okay, one.
You want to insult Scala developers?
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes. So we are writing code in GVM notoriously difficult for dealing with dependencies. So that's why multiple tools trying to fix this. If you have a multiple dependencies, Spring Framework has the way how they try to fix this by creating this like release train where every dependency is marked, and when you have a bomb with all the versions of the things, that's we know. That's we know as Java developers spending years doing this, or like some people like invented some of those things. However, LLMs are notoriously not very good with Java. And only yesterday, we spent some time with this new shiny model. GPT.
5 hours, but who counts?
Yeah, who counts? The GPT 4.1, you will see this all over internet. People will be screaming, saying, hey, it's going to be better.
The best thing ever.
Best thing ever. It's not bad. However, still same the problem. And that's why we need to be very prescriptive about certain things that we know better. So that's why your experience as a Java developers, even if there's the AI tools will be kind of like you will be forced to use, you still have a little bit more knowledge until like jars will be all over internet and the contents of Maven Central will be used to train next version of the model.
We still have a couple of years left.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, keep going. More guidelines. Hey, make sure that you consult the documentation. Again, trivial thing, but LLM is all over the place. It will take demos from stuff that is outdated, never worked, and what's not. So point it to official documentation.
Oh, it's my GitHub repository.
That they shouldn't go. Yeah. All right. Tell them which version do they need to look for in the documentation, right? Ask them to research common patterns before they go and implement something.
Let's just stop there.
Yeah.
Anyone actively using any tool these days? Kind of Cursor, Windsurf, like just okay, few people.
Oh, okay. So you're not going to start after this, trust me.
Yeah. So
well, maybe
tools, they now kind of like have cool abilities, not only do this kind of like agentic code creating files, but they can do other things. They can go in internet and they can browse documentation and find the relevant information if you tell it to do. It's more on what we call agentic approach of interacting. So how this LLM tool maybe doesn't know because it has a cutoff, it doesn't have enough information. But if it has access to external tool to get this information, like documentation. So that's why we're telling you before you think you're smart enough to generate source code based on some outdated information or framework, please go check documentation. Pretty much the same how we tell in the like junior developer.
Yeah. Exactly. This is why the agent in IntelliJ called Juni, because it's a lot like a junior developer. All right, so you got the gist. Okay, so we have this in place. Number one, remember unlimited funds for the model, credit card. Number two, guidelines. Number three, your prompt. What are you asking? Now, as I mentioned, you will have...
Make a bigger font.
Yes. You will have, obviously, this in speaking.jbaruch and speaking gamov.io, the link to this repo. And here, I put all the prompts that we are going to use right here. And this is the first prompt. And the first prompt is implement minimal production-ready airline loyalty assistant web application that helps user questions about airline loyalty program maps. That's our chatbot that we're going to implement. Okay, so what else is here? Core requirements. Follow the fucking rules. Not obvious at all. We really need to rub their face in it. Okay, follow the rules. And then application overview, what it will do. It will use LangChain4j. It will use Quarkus. Key features, what it needs to be. Keep it simple. Please, keep it simple. And then development guidelines. Always check the rules. Please follow the rules. Okay, so you got the gist. We really need to bag it to follow the rules that we wrote. And you'll see. Okay, enough said. I'm going to run it, and then we're going to switch it to Mr. Gamov. While it actually does the job. We'll watch it for like 5 seconds, so you will get the gist of what it is doing. And then, okay. So it says, okay, I see the rules. And we go like, haha, it says the rules. And then it's going to, okay, let's see what's going on here. There is nothing here except the rules. Okay, cool. Now let's create Gradle. And it actually now starts to create files. And you will see here that it actually goes and creates my build. And surprisingly, the list of the dependencies is spot on. It's right from the rules, which is a good sign. Java version 17. Why? Because 17 is popular on the internet. There is no other reason. No, seriously. And then it actually goes and starts to generate code. Application properties. The first one is, again, very much spot on. This is a configuration for LangChain4j. And you can see here stuff like OpenAI API key. Remember the credit card thingy? We'll need it. Where is my credit card thingy? Project something.
SK-project.
Here you go. Yep. That's my credit card thingy. Temperature basically means how much do we want the LLM to get creative, which means hallucinations, basically, right? The closer to 1, the less hallucinations. So 0.7 is pretty strict, which is nice. Timeout, logs, yes, we want. Configuration and Quarkus ports, the Quarkus configuration as well. So this is good. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, we have actually code. We have a controller that is called loyalty controller. This is our MVC. That's our basic Quarkus application. And if you are familiar with Quarkus or Spring Boot, it's very much alike. So we have a query that will come in, and that's its path, root, so it'll be like localhost like 8080, whatever, and it will do like the query processing. The query processing is obviously the interesting part, and here is exactly where we have the integration with LangChain4j, right? So we see stuff here like system prompt. System prompt is our ability to inject something before every question. So before every question, we will set up what this LLM knows, and we will tell it, hey, oh, it already started fixing stuff. Okay, that, hey, you are an airline loyalty program assistant, and this is what you should talk about, this is what your specialty, etc., right? And then we have process query. This is the main thing. How does it work? So basically, it uses components from LangChain4j, like system message, and system message is the system prompt, and user message is our query. And then it will actually run the query, get the response, and return the response back to us, which is pretty like standard stuff. This is something that you would expect exactly how it works. The interesting part is where do we configure using of OpenAI, and that will be in our config. And this is our config, and we can see here stuff like we inject API key, temperature, and timeout, and then we use OpenAI chat builder, and that's one of the chat model, and this is one of the models that we can switch with others, Mistral, Olama, and Claude and other models. And then we use the builder, we provide the API key, the temperature, what's not, and then we run build, and the result will be chat language model object. And this chat language model is exactly the object that we will send the request and get the response.
So essentially, we're still using LLM to write the code that will be talking to LLM.
Of course, that's very meta of us.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, guess if it works. It obviously does not. And we can see here what's going on, compilation errors, right? So, yeah, compilation errors, basically. Okay, it will try to guess how to fix the compilation errors, right? Remember, they don't know how to use the tools. So even if the tool will tell me, hey, this imported is correct,
show bigger.
Cascade has no idea. So it will just try to guess, oh, compilation error. Let's toss the imports around. Let's switch some fancy words with other fancy words and try to compile it again. That's basically how it works. Sometimes it will remember, they told me to go and consult the documentation. And then we'll have fancy stuff like searching web and going to the official documentation and then maybe copying the imports from there.
And now it's stopped.
And now it's stopped.
Is it done?
Are you done? I have no idea. Is it done? It's not done.
Not yet, but
But it stopped.
The response of this type of like behavior is that they're trying to save your money.
It's not an official response. We try to understand why it stops sometimes, and our kind of we want to think positively, and the positive hunch is that they try to save us some money and not burn everything, running in loops, changing incorrect imports to other incorrect imports. But we obviously have no idea. Okay, it will do it for a while. It will try to make it compile, by guessing, as we said, and that's like your million monkeys with million typewriters writing Beethoven. That's
But
that.
they fast. They fast. Kind
They
of
are
like
really fast, but tossing possible options for imports from random examples in the internet. This is literally what happens. Victor.
I want to point out, this is very important point. Again, I don't need to explain this to this room, but like when you have a conversation with your significant others or people who are less versed in AI things, you understand this is not magic because it's just simply super fast on kind of like if predicting next symbol. Like in the hindsight, some people would say that no, it's not right. There's more complex. No, it is like this. So that's why Baruch is absolutely right. So we have some context for this, right? So now, like while we're doing this, I can also introduce a little bit on my side of things. So there is a Spring AI. Where's my Spring AI documentation? Spring AI documentation, larger, bigger, faster, stronger. So it's a quite new project, as many things. So things are changing here, and on top of the problems that these LLMs don't know much about our jars and our dependencies. It's also like a very fresh framework, so we need to also tell it somehow, kind of like a go learn about those things.
No, absolutely. The LangChain4j is not even 1.0. The version that we are using now is 1.0 beta 3, so it's a third beta for LangChain4j. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons why it is so bad in guessing the right imports. Just because there is not enough information for it to learn because the API has changed since beta 2, and there are like 2 examples on the internet on how to do it correctly. What are the chances that those are the exact examples that it looks? I asked it to look to the official documentation, but you know, I mean, why it would listen to me? Okay. Oh, look at that.
So in another like accent about the thing that Baruch said earlier when he was talking about the IDEs should know many things. IDE actually getting to know things much better. For example, like a Windsurf, it actually does a little bit thing underneath, not only. It runs? Runs. Yeah, fantastic.
Wait. Okay.
To try type something. Oh yeah. And now you can do this the voice center.
Yes,
even better. So you
yes.
don't need to touch like a real web.
Yeah. What are we asking? How do I get a premium status on Air France? Boom. All right. Okay.
Maybe it's a key. It's most likely key.
What?
The most likely OpenAI key is somewhere.
No. I have the API key. Well, unless it overread it. No, I have the API key. Okay, you do you. I'm going to try to fix it.
Yes. Okay. So that's how this presentation would be. You know, that's why we have two screens and 2 people on the stage. Now, Spring AI, Spring Boot. I love this dearly, and Spring should have like framework for everything. Like if you have a fridge, there should be Spring fridge, something like that. So Spring AI, it's the abstraction that very idiomatic to Spring Boot and Spring Framework. Use the same concept that you like and love, probably. Spring Boot of auto configuration and all this conventional configuration, all this type of jazz. This is incredible. This is a very cool framework. Now, one of the things that Baruch showed you already is these guidelines, or they have Windsurf rules. If he will be using Windsurf, I will be using Juni. That's the IntelliJ plugin that allows me to do similar things that Baruch showing. And my guidelines or rules are very similar to what Baruch has. Again, it is also in the repository, and you can find these rules here. I will update some of the things because same thing, I just like nailed this literally, this dependency, saying like stick to these ones. I know they work, and I know the particular API approaches need to be handled because it's still milestone 7. It's not even like RC or beta, so API change constantly. Again, doing the same thing. I'm just explaining that this is what I will be using. We're going to be using Spring Boot. We're going to be using the snapshot. We're going to be using like latest and greatest things. Thankfully, to the Spring community and start.spring.io, you can always go and check what versions of what particular framework you need to use. And that information was retrieved and formed for this the AI tool to use. So these guidelines. And one of the things that I also point out here that is check documentation. That's the official documentation website. Go browse this, find this, because if you try to guess, but we'll see how it will work with Juni. API signatures and packages, sometimes they know the class needs to be certain name, but it needs to go to and do something in different package, and after that it will create a compilation error and stuff like that. And some generic stuff also very similar to Baruch doing. You can find this in GitHub. Now, so next thing is that Baruch uses he's like a now I need to
simpleton.
Yeah, no. There's there's the moment when your friend put you as a reference on the next job, and you got this call, and after that you kind of like, this person is so incredible. He saved my life a few times. He's a man of many talents. He taught me how to use Groovy. He showed me how you can move data from Maven or the build files from Maven to Gradle, this type of stuff. So I use his approach. Actually, I saw his presentation because he has a presentation pretty much for everything. And one of the approach that he showed in this presentation is called prompt-driven development. And this approach follows like similar idea-ish. Wait a second. Similar idea. I will show you how this would look on my site, and after that we're gonna try to dive deeper. You know what? I actually wanted to show like a fully working application before, and after that we'll breaking this down. So let's talk about prompt-driven development. I will restore my my state. I'll show application, and after that we will, what the hell is this?
Yeah. So you saw how not perfect the agentic code generation is. You just saw it, and generally I would say that the main problem in what I did is trust, right? Not only you don't trust what it generates, I'm kind of in charge of it, and I don't trust it as well. The whole like guidelines and all this crap is there to give me some level of trust in what is going to be generated, and as you saw, it's still not working. And this is not surprising. We actually have a lot of research that actually proves that. And you can see here that, larger here, that most of the people, like the majority, overwhelming majority, is not trusting AI tools. And this is including the tools that are very limited in scope and hence much easier to trust. So when you have, for example, inline suggestions, instead of just letting it do everything, obviously your level of trust is rising because there are small changes that you see and can approve or decline. So obviously, if I would ask how many people trust at the moment agentic AI code generation, the highly distrust would be 98% and not 8%. And that's because AI-generated code is not great. There is a research about that as well, and some researchers did research comparing ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, and Amazon Code Whisperer, and they figured out that 60 to 46 and 31% respectively of the code was just plain wrong. And we just saw it. The AI generated a lot of code under pretty tough guidelines, and still, I would say at least 20% of the code was definitely off. And this is a couple of years after this one. This is 2023. We are already 2 years past, so we should be in much better place and still is not great, right? The entirely new kind of a threat is generated vulnerable code. Generally, again, this is even older, 2021, but then 40% of the code that was generated was vulnerable. Now, there is, as of now, as of today, as we sit here, an entirely new type of threat is emerging that is targeting the vibe coders, what we actually do with the agentic AI. Remember, it will hallucinate and invent new dependencies. Now, it will do it in pretty concise matter over large code bases. It will invent non-existing dependency for me.
Like Spring AI dash core or Quarkus like a branch, whatever.
And it will predictably, with a pretty high level percent, not 100%, but pretty high level percentage, will generate the same hallucinated dependency for Viktor. Now, if someone here is watching and see it happening, they will go to NPM registry and Maven Center and plant a malicious dependency that will exploit our machines under this name.
Yeah, NPM, you will download this, you will execute this on your machine, and boom.
Maven Center is pretty much the same.
One day you wipe coding, next day, you know, the FBI is knocking your door. Like you're sitting there, wiping, kind of wipe coding, and like, why the hell is FBI is here?
Right. So not only it's wrong, it's also very, very dangerous. Now, if you ask ChatGPT to fix the mistakes that ChatGPT does, the results are exactly as you expect. It will hallucinate fixes for the bugs that it hallucinated, right? So again, not very great. And we need a fix. Now, the fix for this problem comes from an absolutely unexpected direction.
Product managers?
You got it. Remember software design documents? Software design documents are not very great. They are not very great because they are right ones. People write them and that's all. They read maybe once. Maybe the developers will read it. If they do, it will be only once. They are misunderstood because they are written by humans and read by other humans. And we have a tendency of not understanding each other, even when we're speaking the same language and in the same domain, because we are just humans. So they obviously didn't work because of human misunderstanding, because, most importantly, vague responsibility boundaries. This fight of, hey, the requirements weren't clear, and hey, you did not what I asked, is obviously exactly that. We are not sure where the problem is, why the end project is not what the business envisioned. And if you remember, the histories of animosities between developers and other professionals were very good in inventing ourselves enemies. So testers were enemies in some point of time many, many years ago. Thankfully, not now, right? Anyone think that we have some rivalry with QA, with quality? No.
Best people.
They care for our quality.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
them. Right? It used to be, not anymore. And then remember this, developer versus ops, throwing the software over the fence and leaving at 5 p.m., leaving the ops to deploy our terrible software and all that. This is why DevOps started to solve this problem. And by now, DevOps is actually solved. Not everybody do it, but if you want to, you know exactly how. There is enough of knowledge to know that this is not a thing. This is very much a thing. Right? So developers and product in particular, or business in general, are very much in animosity because of the misunderstandings and the vague boundaries of responsibility. Which brings us to interesting conclusion. we have a trust problem not only with AI. We have trust problem with humans as well. And these trust problems is the root of my favorite Venn diagram on the internet.
It's my also favorite vein diagram.
Give it a second.
Yeah. Just let it sink in.
It's a Venn diagram.
No, they're not intersecting.
Okay, we explained the joke enough.
I
It just
mean-
didn't land.
Ah,
Tough
okay.
crowd.
Tough crowd. Okay.
Tough crowd. All right.
At least we're not in Sweden or whatnot.
Yep. Okay. Now, we do have sometimes working software or features of software that work. Why does it happen? Well, there are good reasons for that. First of all, good intentions. In the end of the day, everybody in the organization, the business people, the product people, developers, we, in the end of the day, want to produce good software. And we work through those misunderstandings to actually solve it. So good intentions play a big role. Professionalism, right? If we don't understand the requirement, we won't just like, okay, whatever, I'll just do like, I don't know what, and go away. We will try to make an effort. We will go to business people and ask, hey, what did you mean? I'm not sure what's going on. And this is our professionalism and our mastery as developers. And the same with product people.
So
They
you're
will-
saying you take in requirements from users and bring them to developers.
Yeah,
you-
that's like what the
Anyone
product
get
people
the,
does.
Anyone get the reference? Like, tough crowd. Like
Tough crowd. Tough crowd.
office spaces. Anyone?
All right. And of course, tests and quality assurance. One of the roles of the quality assurance people is ask those questions. Did we understand the requirements correctly? Not only, well, it compiles and we press the button and something happens, but if what happens is actually what's supposed to happen. And end result observation. Business people will come to us and say, hey, this is not what we asked. Go fix it. So all this is how software eventually sometimes works. And now we have generative AI. None of that applies. None of that. They don't have any intentions. Their professionalism, they're just guessing random words. Tests, as we saw, is guessing random words. It's not really tests. And they have zero end result observation. They just write code. They don't know if what they produce, even if it compiles, is what we actually wanted, right? Oh, I have animation for that. Yeah, none of that works. So basically, whatever last hopes of producing good quality software is now absolutely gone. And that's because we now have a glaring lack of trust. What if we would fix it with verifiable intent? What if we code the intent and then we can always go back and check that AI is actually doing what we wanted it to do? We can express the intent in tests. Instead of the humanly written software design documents, we code tests. And then we can hold AI, LLMs, responsible to make sure that those tests always pass. It will be always up to date. It will generate consensus between the business people, the developers, and the AI, because the test must pass. And it's parsable by the machine. So we can write tools that will always ask the question, are the tests passing? What does it look like? There is a name for that. Now, already, in existence. TDD. It is TDD. Thank you very much. What is the problem with TDD?
No one likes to write the tests.
The business doesn't like it. Product managers are not going to write tests. Nuh-uh-uh. And then you say like, okay, what if it doesn't look like the code? What if still we do instead of SDDs, and always up to date and what's not, but we will describe behavior, what it's supposed to do, instead of tests. And we will do it in almost human language. Not only in English, there is hundreds of translations, including obviously French. What does this look like? That looks like BDD. And this is something that business should have liked, but they don't. Because they want to write creative nature, STDs, 5 paragraphs of what this button does.
Or PRDs for requirements of particular feature.
Those are not verifiable, and what is verifiable is not written by business and products. But okay, business won't participate, but we as developers still write tests first, right? Right? Business people won't write tests, but we will. Will we?
Everyone follows like a BDD or
TDD,
TDD by heart, kind of like.
Because
really
it's the right thing to do? Maybe one. Okay. Yeah. Why don't you write tests first? There is a very human explanation. We are solution biased. When we read a problem in software design document, what are we thinking about?
Point A to point B, how we can get from one point to another.
Classes, interfaces, bum, 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 done. We think about how we're going to implement this crap, not how we're going to write tests first. We already know how to solve the problem, so how stupid it is to write tests instead of writing the actual solution. Very natural, of course. And we have a lot of code that has no test for it, test first, so yeah. Suddenly, ta-da! The stupid AI that provides us with so many problems have the solution. Look how everything comes together. Business people define what software should do. This is what they are doing. LLM, using this definition of plain text, which is what? A prompt, generates human readable specs. Specs are reviewed by business people. They don't want to write it, but they're okay reading it because it's actually almost English, and agree to it. Yes, that's exactly what we wanted to happen. And now we have everything verified. We can generate tests out of specs, give it to technical people to review, and once the tests are agreed upon, we can let the stupid machine spin their typewriters until the tests pass. And remember, we have unlimited budget credit card magic thingy. We don't care how long it will take. Eventually, all the tests will pass. It means that all the specs are fulfilled. It means that business people got exactly what they wanted. Right? So that's exactly what I just said. So previous steps are protected, which is great. So prompt-driven development, and this is what it is, it's what behavioral-driven development was supposed to be and never was. We define and agree on intent. AI is protected from circular verification because it will verify against tests that are inherently correct because business people half implicitly and explicitly agree to it. And we have docs which are up to date all the time, which is our specs, obviously, and this is absolutely awesome. Okay, there is a lot of stuff that we can talk about more, but this is exactly the idea, and this is what Viktor will try to implement.
Yes, as I mentioned from previous presentation, it would be very interesting how other people will take your ideas and will try to run with it. So that's what we will be doing. So we're going to be implementing some of the examples kind of like a backwards. The initial idea of this talk, it would be kind of like have a few rounds, and after that people will pick up kind of like a winner, and so you will also participate. Do you still want to do this, or we can just like vibe with the...
Oh, no, we're vibing.
We're vibing. Okay. So the way how we will be doing this, we're probably kind of doing this backwards. I'm gonna show you a solution. I will erase everything, and we'll start from scratch and start wiping and stuff. So this the similar way how the Baruch was starting, but he's starting with the prompt and starting with kind of like rules, general technical rules, and going through the prompt, adding more functionality. Where I will be implementing Baruch's approach for prompt-driven development. Now. So the way how this application would look like, that's the final version. And I didn't write any single line of code of this. It looks nice. I'm super happy. Nice UI, a very cool thing. Now, it also integrates with the multiple other things. For example, it knows that, you know, who am I and how many bags I can take on board the plane for free. So in this case, it knows, oops.
Yeah, you need to turn it off every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and in this particular case, this is kind of like you see whole power of enterprise application in your fingertips. In this case, it knows who in this particular case, so it knows the context somehow from my user session. I just log into the system, and now I'm talking to this like AI assistant. Now it knows a little bit more information about me. Where this information coming from? This information come from enterprise system. In this particular case, is going to be coming from some in-memory hash map. But in general, it can be your database where you have all the users and user information. And this is also attached to the context. So, for example, now it knows why exactly am I asking, like for free, and it says like you're entitled to check up 3 bags for free because it knows who am I. I'm a Michael, and Michael is platinum user of our airline, member or like a frequent flyer. And if I will be switching here, say Sarah, and in this case it will be new session. So in this case I can say, hey, let's do. Hey, what's my favorite destination? I don't just try to ask something and see if this information would be retrieved somewhere. So, for example, in this case, the system doesn't have this information, so it's not trying to invent this and saying, oh, you know what, you kind of like the margaritas, pina coladas, and how was it in the song? If you like pina coladas. So, it's not hallucinating here. So it was instructed or like prompt was engineered. Can you tell me a Scala joke? It doesn't know how to spell Scala. It's fine. I can fix this. So let's see if we can break like. We were able to break through. See? So in this case, the prompt might be not properly organized.
This is so bad.
But you see the thing, right? So to solve these things, you need to think about the protection against idiots doesn't work for fools.
I'm taking over.
No. Wait a second. Let's get back. So that's the application. So you will see this application like less time. Because I will be wiping out everything, and we're gonna start with requirements.
Yeah. All right. So the monkeys, typewriters, what's not? It managed. Hallelujah. Now here is our app, and you know what? Maybe it doesn't. I didn't even try it. Okay. So how do I get a status on Air France? Okay. Yep. That just nothing. Not does it like? Okay, it didn't apparently.
Maybe it's not running the server.
No, I'm pretty sure it does. Pretty sure it does. Where is my server? Here, terminal. Let's see. It does. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's just the internet. Oh, look at that. To get status update, well, that's not what I asked, but it tells me how to get update on the flight status, which is not like frequent flyer status. But yeah, look, we got something, which is great. not exactly what we asked. Let's try something else. I am Bruce. That's my Starbucks name. So I'm Bruce. Hello, Bruce. What's my name? Nope. They have no idea.
Totally opposite situation with what I just showed.
So
that's why we go in like a La Manche.
Right. So remember, this is one of the things that we need our framework for. We got it just REST back and forth. It gets its generic information about Air France flight status, but it doesn't have memory of what we asked. So what our monkeys are going to type next will be fixing this problem and adding memory. So before we do that, let's review what actually happened here. So this is something I already showed you. That's our chat model that builds with my API key, model name, temperature, and timeout. And this is our service, airline. So one of the fixes that obviously fixed it was renaming it from frequent flyer assistant to airline service. Obviously, that's what helped it, right? It's a joke. It doesn't matter. Just checking. Okay. I love it. It's called assistant service, but okay. And it does exactly what we what I showed you previously, right? It has the system prompt, and then it has the process query.
Even though you said avoid all possible, good practices for good production code, it still follows some of the kind of like encapsulation patterns.
Yeah.
Providing services.
This is very clear.
Idiomatic to framework.
Yeah, the airline AI, the airline assistant AI. Oh my God, is actually something that is very clearly a pattern in LangChain4j documentation. You define an AI service that will have stuff like system prompt and memory and everything else. We will see how it evolves. So for now, pretty basic request response works as expected. Now we are going to add memory. And this is my prompt. Enhance existing loyalty assistant web application by implementing conversation memory to provide more personalized user experience. And here again, I provided with very very particular details of how to do it. Frankly, it would be much easier to just type it. But what's the fun in that? And we have 3 hours to burn. So this is why we're doing it. Obviously, because otherwise it will be 20 minutes lunch talk doing all that.
Yeah.
No one wants that.
Yeah.
So now we're going to put our monkeys to work typewriting the memory stuff. And while we're doing that, do you want to see your basic stuff?
Yep.
Yep.
So with this approach of the prompt-driven development, we start with requirement. And this is actually a requirement document. It's like a human written, and there's not much of the code and some of the requirements that we need to follow. If you're going to go, say, here, there's a technology stack, pretty obvious and pretty standard things what I want to use for application. Some of the high priority features, low priority features, some of the features that we're describing. And after that, I'm explaining the project structure, like with the initialize graded project, configure dependencies, application properties, creating Docker compose because we're going to be using a third-party database, and that's no-brainer. We need to add some UI elements, implement basic chat functionality, so UI needs to support this, and the front backend needs to support this. And after that, there's the next step. So in this particular document, I'm describing like everything that I want to do, say, for MVP that I'm working right now. And this is where maybe I'm one of the things that using these tools will teach you is that now you will, as a developer, you look into not as a code, but more like a product manager, because you start thinking about non-technical requirements, functional requirements, not what kind of like a REST endpoints you will be building, what kind of framework you will pick up for front end, but rather what kind of feature it will do and what kind of value it will bring. So that's why this requirement doc is this living, breathing documentation. Now, there's plenty of things. Obviously, I didn't write this doc. Obviously, I use LLM to generate this. And again, for research, those tools are working very well. If you're using, there's deep search or deep learn type of functionality in major providers, in ChatGPT, in Claude, in Grok. Grok is great because it has a lot of like a free bits. Again, I don't know if it comes from the the Twitter things, but Grok is very well doing on the research. So you can ask questions like, I'm building an application, I'm building mobile application that will be doing this. It'll help me to research functional requirements for this application, how this would look like. So, and this is one of the once you done with researching, you have a pretty good idea, you can either take some prototypes. You might have some prototypes. In this particular case, I use this particular prompt in order to kind of reverse engineer. So I built the first version of my application either by hand or using spring.start.ai and using some of the tools to build the features. So I got the golden version, or at least version that I'm partially happy. And after that, I can remember how to build this application, because I might go through multiple hours in this chat, and at the end of the day I'll get this overflow context window, because the conversation context that you can send to LM is limited, depends on the model. Its context window is growing, but it's still limited. Now, so I can save these things that we discussed. I can tell, hey, like, look at our conversation, what we just described, what we dealt, and what you went through in order to build this application.
Who watched a great movie called Memento. This pattern that Viktor is describing is called the Memento pattern after this movie. For whoever didn't watch, go watch it. It's amazing. The idea is the main character lost his context window every 5 minutes. And in order to remember something, they offloaded it as tattoos on their body. And this is exactly what Viktor is doing. He's offloading the knowledge to those documents so he can start a new context window every time it's overloaded and get all this information and continue working with a fresh context window.
Now, obviously, now I need to do something with this, because we need to turn this into code. So the way how I approach this in this particular scenario, so after requirements, I ask, in this case, Junior, I ask, hey, analyze these requirements and build a plan, how those features would be prioritized, how features would be built. The cool thing about, for example, Windsurf that Baruch has is that you can select the model, what kind of model you use for even particular request. Windsurf like maintains some of the context, and after that it will be able to do like a multi-model model regime. Yep. Or mode. So and what I found with our research, there's Claude 3.7 and 3.7 thinking model. It's a little bit more expensive, but actually it's worth it, because if you're doing this type of like a brainstorm,
work on requirements, work on specs before actually writing code, the thinking models are much better than the regular ones.
But also, if you will be using this model for coding, it also works for coding. However, what we found in our kind of like a research, what we're doing is it's getting like too excited. Yeah, too excited. Try to build like a better architecture, a little bit over-engineered. So that's why we kind of like dumb it down with 3.7 Sonnet. It's a great one. We still use this for this.
While I have the screen, our new memory is done. Well, at least I hope it's done. The server is up, and we have a new page called Active Conversation. Now we can...
Did you ask this for, create the badge?
No, I didn't.
Creative.
All right. Hello, my name is Bruce. Ha! Nice. All right.
Say my name. Say my name.
Say my name. Say my name.
Did you get the reference?
Thank you. They're warming up.
That should say like Heisenberg. That should there's probably Heisenberg.
Yes.
And you're like, you got them right.
Yes, yes, yes. No, but well, that's too much.
That's for the next one. For the next time. Remember.
But boom, it actually worked, right? So now we have memory. What happened? One line of code. It took it like 20 minutes, but seriously, one line of code. Let me find it. It is in our assistant service. Here we go. This conversational memory, message window chat memory, with max messages or whatever messages I want to give it, and that's basically it. All I do is in our builder, I plug it in, and it's done. That's the beauty of LangChain4j. This is how we're going to plug a lot of those requirements and build with the builder pattern the exact combination of the advanced features we want on top of this basic request response. So, Viktor, go ahead.
So while Baruch was talking, my AI tool also was doing some work. So in this case, we have a plan now. The plan would look like a real plan. Can we open this? Why not opening? Yeah, so for example, it has a timeline and milestones, it has a plan, what needs to be implemented. So basically take these tasks and breaks this down into kind of like a manageable step. And after that I said, hey, what about if you take this, the plan document and create actual tasks when you have like a visual view of what is actually will be happening. Checklist. And this is fantastic. This is what Baruch was talking about. This is the thing that you can actually track, and also it will be kind of like a memory. You can say that this is the current status. If you will be following this, you will do this type of thing. So
we can hold everybody responsible to this now. We can say, okay, Viktor, does it look good for you?
Yeah.
And if you say yes, that's all. That's done.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. You cannot take it back. You cannot say, oh, that's not what I meant. This is it.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we will hold our AI responsible because this will translate to tests, and tests are verifiable.
And now we go into this like a magic prompt that says that, okay, now read this task document and start with phase 1. So let me do this a little bit bigger so you can see this. Yep, like something like this. Yep, so proceed with implementing this task according this document. Start with phase 1. And mark as done upon completion only if I ask you, or like if the code would be fully implemented. Don't start new phase until I explicitly ask you. So how many of you, when you're using these tools, have the situation when they start like going somewhere, changing
no
the
one
random
uses
code?
Just tell them
okay,
what's happening.
Yeah, so in sometimes depends on the model what will be used. The tool can go like very crazy. It can like start like writing code. Some tools, like if you're talking to ChatGPT, probably they tweak some or Claude desktop. Sometimes when you try to kind of like work on a brainstorm something, it will, instead of giving you answer immediately, it probably trained to kind of, okay, let me ask you a few more questions. Analyze your query and saying, hey, I see what you're asking about this particular framework. Maybe you want to consider using auto configuration, or you're not consider something like this. So these tools like ChatGPT and Claude desktop, they have these capabilities to kind of like have a conversation. So that's why it looks like cool for you. In this particular case, Juni doesn't talk back. So that's why, but it also can get very creative and start generating codes and say, don't do this. Just, if you implemented phase, that's your context window to build it. Now, so I just click send, and we will see in a few minutes how this will implement. So now you see the approach that we follow. In one approach, we start with defining some basic rules, and we go into conversation mode. Do this for me, do this, start with this. So we need to, in this case, it's like a more intentional because he is an expert in the LangChain4j. He knows what kind of feature he wants to use. He just wants this thing to write the code for him. Rather than, in my case, I'm going with kind of like a product manager approach, defining the feature first because, the UI that you saw, maybe I got the Figma Sigma template, and I need to start implementing this from the front end, and I need to start thinking about what kind of data sources needs to be there, because UI needs to use this data and stuff like that. And the cool thing about this in this particular implementation, it kind of sort of has a very intimate knowledge about IntelliJ, so that's why it runs the task inside IntelliJ, and will run tests using the runner and all this kind of things.
This is the step towards actually using the tool that it lives in, as opposite to Cursor, which, as I mentioned, just like guessing strings. Juni actually tries to use the abstract syntax tree that lives inside IntelliJ to more intelligently go about the errors.
Yeah.
Okay, now we are doing the next thing. You remember how, I think it's still up, right? Do I have my preview here? Yes. So we can ask, what are the new rules? Why am I typing it?
Yeah.
Okay, now okay. Of getting a platinum status on United Airlines in 2026. What we're gonna get is maybe.
Scroll down.
It should. It should, maybe. I don't know. Oh, where's my terminal? Did it die? Did it die? Oh, no, it did not. Oh, okay, here you go.
Internet.
As of now, I don't have specific details about United Airlines for 2026, as they change frequently, and I have no idea what they're talking about, because my cutoff date, the bulk of the information that I learned on was whatever, not today. And this is where we hit the next limitation of those LLMs. This is your ChatGPT 3.5 without internet browsing capabilities. My cutoff is April 2021. Go away. Now, we can do better using LangChain4j and Spring AI by what is called RAG. RAG stands for retrieval-augmented generation. So what we saw now is pure generation.
Have you noticed that some cool things that are people kind of like using have like terrible names?
Yes, like RAG.
In Scala?
Right. No, that's a
no,
great
it's actually
name.
a cool name. So that's why no one is using Scala anymore.
That's the other way around. Like the terrible things have cool
MCP,
names.
RAG, LLM. But they're here to stay. And RAG, like who's remember?
And
what you said, like retrieval?
Retrieval-augmented. I'm going to explain what it is in a second. But on the other side, very terrible things have the best names, like cats. Cats. It's an amazing name. Anyone heard about cats?
In Scala?
My condolences. Is like you want to remember it. Anyway, retrieval-augmented generation. So what we saw until now was pure generation. What the model knows, it generates and nothing more. Retrieval-augmented is going to augment the generation, add to generation with something more, which will be retrieved from somewhere. And the sources of those retrievals varied, and Lang4j supports tons of it. You can retrieve from PDL files, Markdown files, code bases, URLs, you name it. Everything that basically has input stream can be streamed and augmented into your generation, and this is what we are going to do.
With
now,
additional context for LLM, we will be able to kind of sort of not to teach LLM, but at least give the context, so LLM will come up with the relevant answer based on this
that's
context.
exactly that, right?
Yeah. It's not for training models. It's something that you do in order to give a little bit more context for your LLM, for your
the
request.
model is already trained. The model is now read-only. The model exists in what it knows with its cutout date. When we ask questions on the way back, when it retrieves the information, it will weave in whatever we want it to weave in. Now, there is one more concept that is critical for RAG, and that's vectors and embeddings. Now, I am as removed from data engineering as possible. I barely had C in math. I'm terrible. So I'm going to explain it in the best way, because I understand it and you will understand it even if you are not data engineers. So vector is whatever mathematical like direction and whatever bullshit. Vector database is very simple. As opposite to a normal database in which we correlate items one to another based on one or two parameters, basically our indexes, in vector databases, we can correlate items on unlimited number of traits, of parameters. So king is related to men because they are both male, and related to queen because they are both royalty, and related to knight because they both from the same era, and related to Kong because they both start with K, and any other type of relationship that you can think about. Really unlimited. And this is a very smart way of sorting. The embeddings are a very smart way of sorting information, storing information that allows us this unlimited number of relationship between stuff. This is all. This is all we need to know. So now, if we want to add information to our LLMs, we convert the information to embeddings, the way to allow those multiple connections, and store it in vector database, which will create those unlimited connections. And now, when it's stored in vector database as embeddings, when we ask questions about relationships, it will return us something that is related. So if we stored in vector database a king, and now we ask about male, it will give us king as it is somehow related. And if we will ask about queen, it will give us king because it is somehow related. This is the most basic explanation of vectors and embeddings, and basically this is all you need to know when you use high-level stuff that covers all this complexity from you as LangChain4j.
So it's interesting, kind of like we asking this LLM to work for us, but LLM is also asking us to do a lot of things in order to, it to understand, because this is basically we need to take information that is available in our real world and turn it into something that will be used to, kind of like a join between stuff that LLM will understand. So that's the only reason why we need to have these embeddings in as a like certain format that will be stored in certain place, so you can perform queries that will be calculating the distance, and based on some stochastic and statistics, you can figure out that okay, that's not the magic, but that's a math. Like I have the official degree in math, like me.
Don't. I don't try to explain it to me. I'm perfectly fine with my explanation. You put it in, and then you ask related questions, and it gives you related information. This is exactly what I need to know. And this is what I'm going to ask it, okay? Enhance our web application, implementing retrieval-augmented generation RAG system using LangChain4j focused on, okay, I want to get more information about Delta and United from their websites. Remember, everything that has input stream, we can use. Obviously, URL has input stream. Great. Use LangChain4j in-memory document storage. This is our vector database. We are doing a stupid demo. We're going to use in-memory document storage. You are going to use in production what? A proper vector database. There is a huge market, and every database vendor now want to be vector database because it's super sexy AI and stuff. So every classic database vendor has a vector database. Postgres has it, Oracle has it, MongoDB has it, Couchbase has it, Elastic has it, Neo4j has it. Apache Pino has it. Here you go.
Anyone heard
He
about-
earned his ticket to Paris.
Yeah.
Good job.
Anyone heard about Apache Pino?
Not
All right.
now. Not now. Not now. No, we have 5 minutes until break. No.
Oh, 5
no,
minutes until break.
You're not going there.
Okay.
All right? And then, so we use in-memory vector database. We're going to put all the URL content over there. It's going to do blah, 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 magic, vector, embeddings, whatever. And then, when we're going to ask questions, it's going to have all this additional information. Load documents from URL asynchronously in parallel to provide performance, obviously, and enhance the quality and currency of responses with grounded information. We're going to add a little bit more in our system prompt, so our system will know that now it has the augmentation. Continue following on specification and rules. I need to rub it every time and hope that it might work this time, maybe. And then other stuff like use the URL document loader, do not implement custom document loading, do not parse documents using JSoup or similar. Like stuff that obviously
it's kind of like a fix that came with experience. Like it started generating algorithms how you can implement like a vector distance in Java inside your code, because why not? It's just smart enough to bring this to this application, which was wrong. This is not exactly what we wanted.
Okay, my monkey started to type.
My monkey is tired already. It's already says like, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So what it did, it's took this task document. See, it put the X in the places where. Let's see if we can do this like in a nice kind of like. Because it's marked down, it's renders nicely, and we can see the checkboxes, all the things. Here's what it did. Actually, that's one of the things that I don't like. So, and this is where I like how the WinSurf did better. So in this particular case, because it was not able to compile with my dependency, because those dependencies are in special repository because they are snapshots. I'm specifically using this snapshot in order to see how smart enough to figure it out. In some cases, like in the 8 out of 10 cases, some of them will figure out to add either like special Maven repo, like what we have in our like this, but also it was not smart enough to add dependency management section here in order to bring the plugin from snapshot repository as well. So and also when I said, hey, okay, let's see. Run Spring Boot app and see if it works. Also, what I didn't like in this particular case, it actually went ahead a little bit. I tell it explicitly don't go to a phase; it goes into phase 2 for some reasons, and goes into some other places, just like implemented the UI. And that was in a different phase. It was phase 3, and it's already put some UI here. It's just, like your junior developer, like, oh, I really want to work on this UI. It's kind of like a ADHD plus kind of like a bipolar with and it's like, yeah. Now, I will continue with this with this approach, but at least I can track. I can see what was implemented. I always, if I see discrepancy in terms of my code is implemented, I can always return saying, "Hey, it looks like the certain phases are not," because again, context window somehow can be in examples that we have here, our frameworks allow to define number of messages that we need to retain in the context window. I don't know how many messages it retains in its context window, but since I have it on my file system, I can now have state of the code, or at least I can tell if I get lost or something is not working, saying, hey, just see if this stuff is in correlation with what we have here. And we have 1 minute until break.
I think we are on break.
Okay, so we are on break, and class dismissed.
How long?
5 minutes?
10 minutes?
10 minutes? I don't know what's the lines for Russian.
I think the question is how shell-shocked are you? Huh? 10 minutes? 10 minutes. All right, so 3:10, we're back. It's going to get even crazier, so don't miss. Or do, if that was enough. That's fine.
Stop.
Pause. Stop. Let it run. You want to cut it later?
Да, it's okay. Так не забудь потом включить.
Так ты оставил?
Да. Я свой остановил.
Hey. Yes.
How do you control the tokens consumed by Windsurf because it's going crazy consuming?
Yes. So there is here. Do you?
Yes, yeah, you want to say.
Yeah. Yeah,
no,
that's fine.
we stop. We stop.
Here you have cascade usage that you can actually see what's going on. And there is no easy way to block it, at least at the moment. I mean,
Selecting model, maybe kind of like a cheaper
yeah,
model
there are
for certain
cheaper models,
tasks.
there are free models as well. And if you don't add more credits, it will fall back to a free model by itself.
Thank you.
So, I mean, generally, yes.
Yeah, because they asked for a feature to not use all the tokens. It's not
Yeah.
necessary because there's like a lot of loops.
Sometimes with new versions, it actually gets better with doing some of the stuff locally. For example, they're not doing linting anymore, stuff like that. Or they do local linting. They're using some tooling available in Visual Studio Code. What?
I think I connected to the same camera.
No, it's a different camera.
Yeah, it's different camera. Yep.
So they're trying to optimize usage of LM. So if they can optimize the you can see sometimes errors like your that was local linting or stuff, and after that it just didn't send any request to LM and things like that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right, so we do a couple of stuff here. First of all, the tools that we use, like Windsurf and Juni, they have cost of their own. So as I just showed here, you see we have this is Cascade, and you can see here the prompts left. I have 500 a month, and for that Cascade charges like I think $10, $10. So that's a lot. This is basically 500 operations that it does. It's not endless, but it's a lot. And in our app, on the other side, when we use the OpenAI key, and those are for those requests, right? So every time we do a request here, it will charge OpenAI or other model if we use it, and then it will be OpenAI platform pricing. Here you go. Yeah. So that will like $15 for 1 million tokens, and
So,
think about token
for example,
as
like
a character, basically.
It's my dashboard, and that's what I used for using this key from OpenAI dashboard. So, and we did a lot of things like what Baruch mentioned.
So, I mean, for this kind of development, you play with it, you do something with it, it's completely reasonable. If you have like tens of thousands of developers that hammer on it all day, it will definitely be a lot. Yeah. Oh, well, there is more in stock. I wanted to ask if my monkeys actually did what they're supposed to do. How many? I can ask. Yes. Oh, it's fine. We're going to revoke it.
No one's gonna
Yep.
copy that anyway, but yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for mentioning.
So
yeah.
no one is going to copy it from screen. The recording maybe, but we will revoke it. So go ahead and try. Yep, go for it. Remember how I did the Alexa talk?
Mm-hmm.
I did a talk with live implementation of like integration of Alexa into programming, and I said that in my home you can purchase stuff with Alexa, and everybody in the crowd like order toilet paper and this kind of stuff, and I was like, please provide your PIN code, and I was kind of like, yeah, how many miles for each dollar Delta Platinum member gets? Brian gets.
Internets. There's
Monkeys deliver
Yeah.
with links. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I will show it later. Just wanted to make sure that we have it.
Sure.
The mute doesn't work. This is funny.
No. It works in. How
Hey, what's up, Tom?
you doing? Yeah, we've seen each other in places. Yeah, good to meet you.
Ah, that's a good question.
It's a good question.
Oli is pretty busy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Thank you.
Are you done already? All the talks?
Nice. I was just thinking about maybe going to the restroom and then live microphone. I need you to tell me the reference.
Movie?
Of course.
I don't remember.
Come on.
Which one?
Come on.
Which one?
Viktor, you're disappointing me. Which movie has a scene when the person is going to the restroom with live microphone on it? On them. You're being shamed now.
No, let's see.
Are you ashamed already?
Okay.
Come on.
Interesting. Now,
Leslie Nielsen.
this is a good example of what to do.
And this is my biggest fear on every conference. They mic me up, and then and then I'm like, okay, naked gun, Leslie Nielsen. Probably shouldn't. This stuff is so useful. I love it. Oh, hell yes.
Which one? Okay.
How do we do sound here? I guess my microphone will just catch it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Protecting the safety of the Queen is a task that's gladly accepted by police squad.
is completely fantastic. And we can all take pride. We have chosen our sisters. Indeed, it is for all the people who will be able to share in the
We got the reference. Okay, everybody now get the reference. Leave the microphone and go to restroom.
This is break well spent.
Okay, all right. So we stick with our guns. Yeah.
We're back? Oh, where?
I think
okay.
so. Wait a second.
My
So-
monkeys were done.
Pew.
Yep.
Pew.
Do pew pew.
Pew. One more.
All right. My monkeys are done. Are you seeing my monkeys? Yes. Well, that was naked gun. Okay. That's not what I want to ask. Okay. Look at this beauty. How many miles per dollar spent a Sky Miles Delta Platinum member gets? Brian gets. All right. This is pretty sweet. It knows about exactly 9 miles, which is like very relevant information lately and what's not. And it also provides the links to where this information came from, because this is our augmented sources. Now let's look at how it's done. And this is again very, very simple, thanks to obviously LangChain4j. Right, so we have a new RAG service, which is a bin application scope. It's going to be injected, the normal Quarkus stuff. And the interesting part here is this. So our embedding store, this is our vector database. And obviously the in-memory embedding store is great for our demo, but we will use a proper implementation of vector database here, Postgres, Vector, whatever you need. And then this is just like, no one asked for it, but it did it for the nice links, which is nice. And then here we are, right? So embedding model, OpenAPI embedding model we use, and then we provide the same API key, because the service of creating the vectors we're still hammering my poor API key, right? And then content retriever, this is what is going to ask for similar results of our request from our storage. And we are telling, hey, this is the storage, this is your database, this is the model, this is like where how do you check for similarities, max results, how many results do we want, minimum score. Now this is how similar stuff is, how close queen is to king or male is to king. King to king will be 1. That's the closest. King to something completely unrelated will be very close to 0. So we ask for something which is relatively related, and we ask for 3 results. And then we load the documents, and loading documents will just be like loading the documents from our storage. This is the process document, is the process of loading the documents into the storage. And this is where we create the embeddings and embed all, right? Process all the information that we get the URL, create embeddings for it, and then save it in the database. Again, super natural API. And it's actually getting a little bit better every release of beta towards 1.0, because once the 1.0 hits, the API will be whatever it is. So obviously, the contributors use it for improving the API. By the way, the bird of feathers for a lot of LangChain4j contributors is tomorrow night. I think at least 5 people of the contributors are here. Some of them are French, like Guillaume Laforge from Google. He is actually in charge in providing the Gemini implementation, or not implementation, like API for LangChain4j. Lisa Rice is coming. Antonio Goncalves, the organizer of the France, he actually wrote a book about LangChain4j. It will be very prominent tomorrow both, and you might actually get signatures or what's not, like signed book or whatever.
As you
So,
should.
absolutely. So a lot of people who are very, very close to the project, you can actually meet and ask questions, and they obviously know much more than I do. I'm that removed from the monkeys with the typewriter. They are like, they know their shit. Right, and then what else? Find retrieval documents. Again, something, we get the query, and we need to ask, give us the results. And here is embedding search result. We build the result, and we say, get me information from the storage with no more than 3, with mean score of 0.6. This is some monkey typing. They are repeating, it's exactly the same part. One of it doesn't work, but it doesn't matter. You got the idea. So here it is, like absolutely trivial implementation of a very, very complicated concept, completely abstracted by a very cool API by LangChain4j. Viktor, do you have any update on your monkeys?
My monkeys, I decided to switch because these monkeys start misbehaving.
So you're like,
yep.
fuck it?
Yeah, because you know I still like up for the show, and this is another example of benefits of having PDD kind of style of approach, because you know I swap to this. Hey, this is my state, this is my code. Just go figure out if they kind of like a match. And what it does, it's just like, okay, so I am actually going and read and see what you've done, and just realize that and understand that, hey, yeah, it looks like the project setup is done. Core application structure is kind of sort of done-ish. And also what I didn't like about Juni in this particular, I already told about this, that it used like downgraded dependency that I explicitly said not to. So now, in this particular case, I'm still kind of in the process of, you know, doing this jazz. But since we're on the subject of RAG, with the Spring AI, same thing with this.
Wait a second. Wait. You have some catch up to do, all right? So let's do step by step. First of all, talk us through how do you implement just basic access to a model, online model with Spring Data.
Yeah.
Spring AI, because we didn't see any of that yet.
Yeah.
So let's
that's
do the
perfect
catch up.
point.
Yep.
We're gonna start with a couple things. We do have a Spring Boot convention over configuration. There would be a bunch of stuff that automatically configured. If the Spring Boot will notice this part of this AI part, it will, because the jar will be in the class path and the configuration is there, so it will be able to, you know, create all required models for this. And let me see if we have already a controller that would be, yeah, chat controller. So we have a chat service. I didn't ask to create the chat service in this particular case. Chat response, message, local time. There's nothing, so it didn't generate anything. But you know,
useful.
Yeah, not super useful, but it's fine. Like,
We
I do have a
prepared.
I came prepared. Yes, exactly, for this exactly same you know, reason that, you know, the live demos are, you know, breaking, and the best improvisation is prepared improvisation. So that's why, you know, you think like we're super cool and super brave. No, we, you know, just doing
My
this
monkeys,
for a while.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Next time we're gonna swap. We're gonna be using different frameworks, and
Mine will work.
Yes, and we
Just
will
saying.
be using this approach. Now, with the simple application, as simple as idea that you saw in the Quarkus in LangChain, have a one endpoint chat, and we're gonna be sending some messages from the front end, and those messages will be translated as is into our prompt, and so that's why there's no guardrails, there's no kind of like anything specific things. So where I'm going into, I do have a bunch of versions.
Show us the one that works.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't remember like how pretty UI is this on this particular
Oh,
version.
that would be terrible if it's not.
And in this particular case, yeah. So the standard thing, we're gonna do localhost, and just let me see.
Oh my God.
No, it needs to be refreshed. It's
Oh,
you know,
okay.
too many things. It's the browser thing. So hi. See, bow. And how
Oh,
I can
you have the
assist-
fancy 3 dots.
Yes.
Nice.
How I can assist you today? My name is. Where is it? My name is Heisenberg. Say my name.
No, say my name should be
Yeah,
another one.
it'll say. Okay. Say my name. Because there was
No memory.
No memory.
No
Yeah.
memory.
To add memory, we can go and also like open the.
Wait. Show us how the request response works.
So in this, it is just the object that will be serialized between the front end and back end, and
Where do you configure the model?
that's it. That's the only configuration I need. In Spring Boot, here I can
well,
put-
yeah, but
I can
there
put-
is like a part when you say the model is OpenAI, and
Yes.
that's the OpenAI,
Yep.
and this is the API key, and then you have a bunch of other options that you might configure if you
The
want.
same thing. The temperature, number of tokens, the Windows, says, all these things that can be configured in configuration. And again, in Spring Boot is also kind of like the thing that we just injecting here is this this chat model would be auto-wired into this because of the Spring Boot configuration
Exactly.
magic. Yep.
So we saw builder in LangChain4j. It was a very Java-ish object that uses the builder pattern, and we add and we call methods to add special traits. In Spring AI, we see this weird, like a mark. It's not a markup. How do you call it? Like domain-specific language.
With YAML.
Oh my! This is why it looked terrible. Okay.
Exactly. That's
okay,
YAML.
it's- okay.
That's YAML.
I saw like I was like now I
Yeah.
understand why.
Yeah,
Okay, because
it's
it's YAML.
YAML, it's
Okay,
YAML,
okay,
yeah,
now
yeah,
it explains
100%.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so in Spring Boot you do YAML. Now take your pick. Just saying.
Yeah, you can do YAML everywhere.
But should you?
You probably should not, man. You probably should not. Okay, so let's see. This is the version where we adding some
Memories.
Some memories. Where's my controller? Chat controller. And in I don't think it's memory. It doesn't use memory. Well, I will wait until it will generate correct version, because the correct version will have a memory. But essentially,
should
the way
I-
how it works in Spring, we can assign during this. Where's my code of this? No, this not this one. Too many things. Controller. So when I creating this with chat client, I can do assigned advisor. Where is it? And in the IntelliJ now totally broken. I will swap. I'll
Alright.
swap in a second, so I will not.
Okay, all right. So we are going to talk about the next step. And the next step after memories and RAG was MCP, Model Context Protocol. The idea is, let's try to give our LLMs not just information for RAG as a free text or whatever PDFs or whatever documents, but in a structured way. This can give the LLMs access to those specialized tools. So, for example, IntelliJ IDEA has here. IntelliJ IDEA has MCP server that is connected in my Windsurf. This is kind of weird. You might say, like, how does it work? What does it do? But remember, IntelliJ IDEA is great in debugging stuff and understanding code. So in a perfect world, Cascade inside my Windsurf can go to IntelliJ and ask, hey, why this class doesn't compile? And IntelliJ will say, well, this import is not right. I know it because I have it your project, I have your context, and what's not. The other server that I use here is called Puppeteer. And Puppeteer is basically a tool to run stuff. This is how those previews work. The previews that we saw earlier, I can open it in external browser, and this browser will actually be, where it is, I don't see it. So it was opened by a command request by this Puppeteer that run commands on my machine. So LLM knows how to trigger those specific commands in order to do stuff, for example, open a browser. So let's see if I can actually show you more. Yes, so here is a list of those tools that are exposed suddenly to LLMs thanks to the protocol. Navigate, screenshot, click, fill, select, hover, evaluate. Those are all suddenly the commands that my LLM is aware of and can do deliberate stuff with and not just manipulate free text. And if you want to look at the MCP server of JetBrains, you can see here stuff like get, open, and editor file path, or replace selected text, or this kind of stuff, which is operating on live IntelliJ IDEA project that I have open. Now, for our, I wanted to show you the official website. Yes, so here it is. Get started with Model Context Protocol. C# SDK is released. Oh, okay. This is how it works, right? So this is all happens on our computer. We, on our computer, can run MCP servers. Now, it's generally an executive that run on my machine. So Puppeteer is some kind of a process, event loop, that is waiting for calls from my host with MCP client, which is IDE in my example, that will be Windsurf, and it calls this protocol, it calls this event loop, this running server, and this running server gets information for the LLM from a source in some magical way. It can do something, it can return something, it can do whatever. Those are the commands, right? For example, in JetBrains, my Windsurf can ask the JetBrains server, hey, analyze this file, and the result is not coming from a database, but from the protocol point of view is a result that it can use, like, hey, this file won't compile because you are a stupid monkey. Whatever, right? So it can also go, and no one said that it has to still be on my machine. It can go outside and do stuff as well in remote service C. Nice, simple, terrible in many ways, but works at the moment and provides this critical service of being able to access tools in a more static or in more predictable ways than just text. Okay, for the purpose of our code or our demo, we are going to use Google Flights MCP. Now, obviously, we are airline assistants, whatever, so Google Flight MCP makes perfect sense. And thank you, MCO, that's very nice of you. And here we have Google Flights MCP server. Okay, here you go. Google Flights MCP server. That was that's not what I wanted. I probably need the other one. This, yes, thank you very much. So this is the MCP server, and here is the list of features that it provides for our LLM to use. Search for one-way or round trip, create comprehensive travel plans, get airport code information, use template for common, very nice. How do we install it? We theoretically install it with pip install ncp fast flights, Python and dependencies. Don't even get me started. Eventually, the thing is I need to run it on my machine. And when I run this command, according to this documentation, it just runs. Trust me, I ended up running Python commands that I didn't understand with very promising flags like -- break system packages to make it work. What could possibly go wrong? Doesn't matter. It eventually works. Where it is. I killed a bunch of Java processes for some reason. Yeah. Pip install and then Python. Okay, we can try and run it. It's actually Python 3. This is very small here. It's actually Python 3. No such file directory. I'm in the wrong file directory. Oh, where am I? Oh, okay. Here we go. Cannot open file. What does it want? No, it was here. Here it is, right here. Python 3. It's something else. Flights. So you see how well it's documented. I think the file that I need is actually one. I think I need to do this. No, it's not. It's here we go, and then Python 3, and then flights. Here we go. It does something. It instantiates something and airports, and then it's waiting for connections. So here we have it running locally, and I can connect to it with something that is called MCP inspector. Yes, MCP inspector, and here it is actually running. It is connected to my server now, and or it's not.
Just click connect. Connect and it will start server. So there's MCP servers. That's why what Baruch was talking about a couple minutes ago, like maybe 30. It's terrible protocol.
It's terrible protocol
because it actually works in two fashions. So first one is the STD standard output. So essentially your Claude client, your client that needs to get this information for our MCP server will start this as a part of its process. You know what could go wrong. Again, considering all these like dependencies that you bring in there,
security and what's not.
Yeah, and second, it's kind of remote and it uses server-side events. It's just like breaks my heart. I spent years talking about WebSockets and talking about server-side streaming and stuff like that, and now again back like a server-side events. Like what the hell, man? So, and with the server-side events, you can actually connect to remote and remote server, and it's not bidirectional streaming. So that's why kind of for use cases where you need to get the data kind of in a constantly populated
so
fashion.
This is something that I want to repeat because I want you to understand how terrible it is. The default way to connect to it is that you instruct your tool, whatever it is, Windsurf in our example, or it will be our assistant in our example, to run this third-party Python crap inside their own process and watch for standard I/O to interact with it. That's a right reaction.
Yeah.
What? It is a terrible idea on so many levels. And this is exactly how it works. And what my man kids are going to do now is exactly that. So if we go to our queries, this is what's gonna happen. Execute Python 3 command with this argument and run it inside our Java process to interact with it input-output. It's that bad. All right, I'm going to put my monkeys on it. So yes, enhance protocol by implementing model context protocol, support use to run Google Flight MCP, enable the assistant to our real-time flight availability questions, maintaining the architecture, continue following all the specifications in the user rules file. Obviously, again, reminder, and this is how you run it, and this is what it's going to do, and any update on your monkeys?
So it's actually going even worse. So that's kind of like, that's why this is the, how it's called, this bipolar thing happens kind of like in one moment it is kind of like, hey, check this out, the super
This is
code,
so cool.
everything
And
is
it's
composed, and after just ridiculous. It starts somewhere. And it's going into some like a weird loop and try to like something like small. For example, it's let me open this in external browser. If I say hello, like what? Like since like why? Like why are you even exposing this information up to the up to my application? Let's see if it's still errors. Like. Yeah, it's actually getting worse. And I'm still trying to, I'm going through this, going through the process. I don't know if it's like a weather or something that happens with the systems. Yeah, exactly. The full moon and the mercurial in the, you know, it's cool, it's fun, and it's also unreliable. You know, sometimes you can be like, I'm a king of the world, and after that, I'm a piece of shit. Like that's kind of like a moment right now.
So,
I'm still working on this. I'm still trying to.
Do you want to just show us the RAG code?
Yeah.
The memory. I
Yeah.
think we are
Yeah.
in memory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will. Like give me another shot. I'll kill everything and just like as the professionals do, just take the git reset and back to the working version. And maybe sometimes like I need to do kind of like another stream where we can like this thing will work. You know, you kind of like start playing around, seeing it actually works. You start streaming after that, so people see that it works. I don't know. There might be like a planets and stuff.
My
so
shit works.
yeah. Let's see. Actually, now that there's 2 monkeys working on this, which is also pretty cool. Have you done? Like, hey. Have you done? Okay, I made several changes to fix. Okay, but still have problems with chat not being null because chat client needs to be a bean, and it says in documentation that when you configure this, you have the model would be injected, but you need to create chat client as a bean, and it doesn't know this. But if it would go and check documentation, as I said, it would better. Let me tell you. Let's check. Let me tell it. Okay, check documentation. Check the documentation on chat client bean. Okay, so let's see if it will do the thing. Okay, now check documentation about and memory about Okay, based on the memory. Now this is interesting. So we talk about memory that we implemented in our application, but since it's also kind of client to LLM, it has its own memory, and sometimes they can go like very
conflict with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Very go in deeper in this kind of like a world. Speaking about Memento, because if you remember Memento, he basically killed the guy. He was not kind of like he was not the bad guy at the end of the day, but based on this like breadcrumbs that he put himself, he made him believe that the guy was the bad guy. The same stuff is I have in here. Now, these memories also can be configured. I always can go into my memories and rules, and something globally configured, for example, for all these like JVM projects, but also something that he found and decide to update the memory. For example, in this case, it says that, okay, so I have a blah, 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 this I need to use this and this pattern, or I need to go, and this is something that was generated not by me. It's a LLM made the decision that this is something that it requires, or not LLM, rather than Cascade and Windsurf.
Okay. Do you have the code to show us how to implement memory in
Yeah.
Spring?
Let me stop it. Let me stop everything. I'll switch.
Okay, all right,
recover
because-
everything, and because it's kind of a big.
Because I
getting
do
ridiculous.
have MCP configured.
Yeah. very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, pretty cool. All right, so look how our application evolves. So we already have memory. It knows that I'm Bruce, and it gets information, the latest information from the websites. And now it can do stuff like find flight from NYC to SFO next week. So let's see if that works. Find flights from JFK to SFO next week. Okay, MCP didn't work. Now, frankly, I cannot say that I'm very surprised because fucking Python -- break system packages. I will show you how I configured it, and it doesn't work probably because I didn't manage to make it to run Python inside my Java environment in the correct way. I mean, I have very little idea of how it should be done, and the monkeys have even less, obviously, right? So, but the idea is pretty simple. If we can find MCP servers in the normal language, like in Java, in Kotlin, and what's not, it will probably just work. Since we wanted something relevant to our domain, Google Flights sounded like a good idea, but it isn't whatever it is. So here we go again, right? So we have another bin, which will also be injected, and then will be our MCP config. And this is where we are going to do it, right? So this is the script path. This is where the Python script is. And this is the executable. That's where my Python 3 that should run it. And probably the only problem is all this crap. Python path, and dependencies.
But hey, it could be worse. It could be like npm packages and stuff, right?
Yes.
Or yeah, because you might have like packages that compile with different version of Node, and you have only particular version of Node installed. That's something that you will see if you will be using the modern like MCP technologies. It's fun and cool. Like kids love this. We don't understand this, but our kids gonna love this. And they writing the code, they vibing, building this stuff. And now like we need to. I'm not. The complaining or whatnot, like I'm too old for this shit.
Sounds
but
like you are.
yeah, but there's it's not actually everything is like that dark. There's
No, I'm in the middle.
you're still in the middle. Okay, sorry. It's there's still like a different initiatives how make this terrible protocol less terrible. But
Yeah,
continue with
for
it.
now it is, right? So, okay. So what I wanted to show you in the end of the day is yet another builder. You started by the almost 3 hours. You started to get the thing, right? So it's another builder, and in this builder we say, this is the command, Python run script, and those are the environment variables that I thought the monkey thought of adding, probably not the right ones, but whatever, I'm not going to debug this crap. And then transport builder just built. So now we have the MCP transport implemented. Once we have the transport implemented, and that's the standard I/O, the other type of transport will be HTTP. When it does the HTTP request, obviously unprotected, no security, just go to a random HTTP IP address. What can possibly go wrong? But okay. that would be our other transport. And transport is obviously an interface, right? So MCP transport is the interface, stdio is one implementation, HTTP is the other. You get the gist. And then we have this transport, and now we build MCP client. And again, there is an interface MCP client. Default MCP client is one of the implementations. And we, again, create a new builder. And we say, this is our transport. This is how you connect to the server. And timeout if we need it. And then we say, like, hey, build. And now we have the MCP client. And we plug the MCP client to our toolchain. The same, so now we have the MCP tool provider, which also has a builder that we provide the client. And now we have the MCP tool provider that we are going to plug in right into our service where we build the chain. Here we go. Remember the chain? We have the AI interface that has the system prompt and what's not. And we plug in the chat model, which is our OpenAI key, temperature, all this stuff. You remember we plug the memory in, so it will remember who Heisenberg is. And now we also plug in the tool provider. Now, we can obviously plug in multiple tool providers that will connect to multiple MCP servers, exactly like our Cascade does that connects to two providers right here. And this is how we just plug in any of the tools. Now, how LLM is going to know which tools to use? Answer, monkey magic. LLM will probably realize that it has those APIs and will reach to them when the answer, when the question seems appropriate to get the answer from. The good news is it's mostly working. So if here I'm going to ask open web preview, it will actually go to Puppeteer and will start a new window without any instructions to use this particular tool. And if our server, here we go, that's Puppeteer, right? This is. And if our server would work, the question, give me the flights from JFK to SFO, would provide a list that the stupid server would give us, but it didn't, but okay. So far, so good. All right, awesome. The next step.
Let me...
okay, go for it.
Yeah, I was just playing around with the MCP as well. And
how did you get to MCP? We're doing memory. You're like 5 steps behind.
Yeah, so there's different MCPs that I'm playing around. So essentially, with the Spring Boot, I decided to get back into our the world of working code. Is again the application that already works. Now the couple things with the way how it works with Spring Boot. Again, it's also a system message, system prompt that set the stage for LLM, and also user message that we insert into this. And the way how it works with this simplified version, we're defining the user message that will be sending from UI. Next thing that ignore for a second RAG here. But also there's a prompt builder, adds the message here, adds the RAG context, adds some additional where's the default default airline loyalty service, so it kind of like set the stage for LLM. So this is where it also takes information. What was the request that you were asking about? About miles per dollar?
How many miles you get per dollar spent on Delta or with status, like on United 1K?
Let's see.
It was, sorry about that.
Let's see. Yeah, doesn't know this. It probably doesn't know this information. Sorry. Again, the it says it because it's part of the context. The information about this user was sent, and this information was retrieved in this RAG service. And information we get from profile, we get this from the user service. So we insert in our the service that will be part of this prompt that will be generated. Will include information about some of the member information, and we do have this the hard-coded values for Sarah Johnson, for Michael Chen, but this information also can come from enterprise source or like your GDBC GPA repository or something like that.
This is terrible. Why it's hard-coded?
Huh?
Why it's hard-coded?
Because it's in memory, it just uses in-memory storage, so I decided not to have any additional dependencies. Another thing is that it also supports the vector stores as well for adding this the queries. So in this particular case, again, also uses this in-memory a vector store that will kind of like embed this information. In this morning, someone was getting not enough coffee, so the system was not able to download things from internet. So we got to play around with the embedded thing that we put in our in-memory vector store, and after that included into.
So it's just hard-coded. Oh my
in memory,
god!
yeah. But this is the it's also the thing that this stuff is generated for me. The thing that you explained with what is RAG, what's the vector search. So for example, some based on this information. So imagine this information was retrieved from your favorite JSON soup that download this from internet and save it somewhere in parsable form. So, for example, there's like elite status. We're interested in the word elite and how this information would be correlated with some information that we already have in our record. Nice. So in this case, we do have this multiple entries inside my vector store. And with this with this request, I will have like different probabilities which one would be used better for to getting the response. And so like what are like say for example my elite status benefits. Now it should use some of the information from the user system, from RAG system, and go to LLM and request this information. So, internet's waiting. Yep, there's some interesting things. Is a gold member, blah blah blah. Silver benefits whites. That's like why all the silver benefits. Remember, status gold member puts you on the path of platinum status. Blah blah blah. Why it's not use any like elite benefits. Sky rewards offered elite status tiers. Okay, so what about seat availability? We have this information about seat availability. What are my options with upgrades and availability of upgrades? Interesting. Let's see. So it should get this information from this reg version. And I'm also curious, like, see, like how much text is going back and forth.
Yeah, yeah. Show us the code. I mean, the interesting part is how do you plug in the RAG into Spring AI?
Yeah. So with this information, we're using prompt builder. That's the.
Yeah, no, but that's system prompt. That's not that.
This is RAG context that was injected into prompt. This is how this works. Like at the end of the day, we submit this the request to LM with all these contexts. So it's kind of like also chaining. We start with like creating user image. We add this in memory. We get information from the session, like who is the user, so we can have a conversation based on the session. This is kind of like managed halfly, as you know, because it's also HTTP. It needs to be managed somewhere. So I use local store in my browser, so it remembers like who am I when I start and things like that. But in the real world, it would be like some live session that you store somewhere in distributed hash map, or some in Redis and things like that. Now, next thing is that we gonna start building things to the prompt. So we add this the user consent that comes with the for particular user, because we will query this from the system, build this and send this request into LLM and get the response. So that's kind of like a very similar approach, builder pattern.
On the bright side, no more YAML.
YAML's still there. Come on.
Yeah, no, of course, but you don't like really. Oh, it's a lot of YAML.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a kind of technical things. For example, connecting to
yeah, the embedding service, like
so
we use the OpenAI. Yeah.
So for embeddings, yes, we still use the OpenAI. We still stick with the same dependencies. For my this like a
that's your vector database.
Vector database,
and it can be like also in memory, like same idea.
Yeah. And there's some smaller things, kind of like different profiles, and maybe using some like the like local models.
Local models is what we're gonna do next.
Yeah, I don't have a bandwidth to do local models, so you run with
All
this.
right, local models. Okay. So next, and what we're on time, maybe we'll have time for one more after that, but next one will be switching to local model. Now, obviously, running local models is not something that we kind of do on a daily basis for multiple reasons. First of all, they are pretty large. And the more sophisticated the model is, the larger it is. We can kind of get by with smaller models which are very specialized, but in general you say like, okay, that's probably something they want to leave to the Anthropic and the OpenAI and those kind of stuff. The second reason is it's all like data engineering Python crap. We as Java developers have no idea even to how to get started. What is the operational model? Is there a Maven Central for models? What is the runner? Do they have dependencies?
Too wide. You're hitting me.
That's like a huge model. We have no idea how to even get started. Abstractions to the rescue. And the one abstraction that we kind of love for this kind of stuff is Docker. And Docker released just like last week a model for running models, which is pretty cool. Latest Docker have a new command, Docker model, larger. Here we go. Docker model. And Docker model is a model runner that can pull models from Docker Hub and then run models locally on our machine. So I completely abused the hotel internet last night and downloaded a Mistral model. Now the fully blown Mistral model is 14 gigabytes of model, and that the hotel network wouldn't survive. So I downloaded a little smaller version of it, which also 4 gigabytes. It also took me like forever, but it's here. And now I can actually run it locally. I can do Docker run and either just ask a question. Right.
Why are you typing?
Sorry. Well, I should probably tell it the model. AI Mistral. Not going to type this. Yep. Huh? No, there is some parameter that I can give it like a string, or I can run it and then. What do you mean enable? No, don't pull it. No, no. Okay. Let's try it again. Docker model run this. Here we go. And now we are in interactive chat, which is exactly what you expect it to be. Which model are you? Mistral AI, my primary, wonderful. And then we can see that it's a better model. You know what's coming. My name is Bruce. No. My name is Bruce. Nope. Oh, twice. Okay, cool. And then what's my name? I have no idea who you are because bare model, no memory. And obviously no RAG, nothing, exactly as you would expect. Now, what it actually makes it very easy is to use LangChain4j to connect to this model instead of our network model and have everything already built in to use. We don't need to change anything except of which model do we run. So let's quit it. The model runner is still running. There is a flag in Docker desktop that allows it to run somewhere. I don't remember where it is, but I'll find it in a second and I will show you. But basically, it now runs. So I can connect to it, and now I can go and ask monkeys to switch the model, switch to local Mistral, and then replace existing existing OpenAI documentation. I actually give it the code, but whatever. So basically, here is remember the chat model builder? So use the same builder, but now the URL will be localhost. LLama CPP is the runtime. Not only Python, but also C++, everything we like. Again, we don't need to care about that, and that's the beauty of it. Just run the engine and then use the AI Mistral as a model, and this is all. The rest of the toolchain that we so craftily, the monkeys, so craftily build it in the past 3 hours, 2.5, it's all there. We have the memory, we have the RAG, we would have MCP if it worked, and everything is there, and we just replace the model, which is pretty cool. So let's do it. We can start a new conversation and give it this prompt. We'll see what it does. Mr. Gamov.
Very good point. So usually, again, we programmers, we program things to support some of future developments. So that's why the huge fans of like interface-based development and things that defining like a common abstraction. So Spring followed of the best practices in Java. So switching to new model is as easier as changing YAML file. So in this case, if I look inside, say, documentation for different models that are available, it has a nice kind of like the table comparison. And one of the things that I'm care is two things. First of all, local and OpenAI API compatible, meaning that the same API client would be used, so I don't need to change any code. One thing is here is available DeepSeek. We're not going to use this Chinese thing. And what we find is Ollama. So one of the approach that Baruch is using Docker, a Docker model pool in Docker, I'm using just a local installation of Ollama, and there's like a different benefits of having one versus another. For example, since it was built for native for Mac, it supports ARM, it supports some of the GPU processing and all this type of jazz. So one of the things that I need to just check in my code, so you see, in this case, I just disabled OpenAI. It can be, profiles and stuff like that. I just wanted to make this explicit, and also for some reason profiles didn't work. And one of the things that I also need to specify here, Ollama is kind of like a framework for building these models, and I need to specify what model that I have here running. So in this particular case, when I run this Ollama, I can do this. Hi, who are you? So in this case, to make sure that when we're talking to the right thing in my application, we'll just refresh it. Hey, so what's my status? So in this case, it uses local model now. It uses same data stuff, and it gives gets the information about memory, get information from RAG, like who are you? Let's ask to make sure that we're talking to a llama, blah blah blah. I'm automated, blah blah blah.
Ask about the model.
Made you. What model?
Who made you? What are you?
Yeah, what are you? Okay. So not capable of being manufactured by
Oh my
physical
God.
products.
Let's ask about the model.
Yeah, it's a trained variant of BERT, bidirectional in oof.
Okay,
Right.
that's Solana. That's not OpenAI. Yeah.
Who's is Zach your father? No. A little bit the hallucination, but again, local configuration, local deployment. Let's see what's up with the battery. 24 minutes, perfect. Like I have a perfectly enough time and on my laptop. Oh, that's good thing that compatibility is working now. What else we so again, using the local models good for local development. No money spent, so in this case it's free. I don't specify any keys. Only thing that just did brew install Olama, and it will be this thing kind of like will continue to work. Again, if you will be looking to some of the APIs, say in production you will be using OpenAI, or in production you will be using Anthropic, you just need to see what kind of APIs would be supported. It looks like in the Java space, Java SDK, because it uses like OpenAI Java SDK to talk to it. So that's why compatibility is important. So, and again, it's just like only two models that support local and OpenAI compatible. So for the rest of the stuff, you might need to kind of like swap using different model, using different beans configured in order to use different profiles and all this kind of stuff. So yeah.
All right. So my monkeys we're going very strong for more than 2 hours, but it looks like they start to get tired.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's exactly the same problem. It's the exact details of how to run how to connect to a local Docker model runner is obviously a weak fresh. So it's kind of you don't expect LLMs to pick it up. There is not enough documentation out there that they can learn on and then give the correct answer. So that's probably what's happening here. Something is not right with the exact connection, but I can show you what it does, how it's configured, and if the port is not right or whatever, we can actually fix it. So where is our Mistral model config? Yes. So yes. So what it did, it abstracted away the what we are going to do, right? So here in the connection, it now reads the details about what model to use from our application properties. And now application properties now have switched. Well, I wish it could change the name because it's not OpenAI anymore, but okay. And now it actually tries to run the Llama CPP with a local model with AI Mistral. It doesn't have the version, maybe this why it's failed. But again, it has no information where to learn from because this stuff is absolutely bleeding edge. It's from last week. And so it switches all that, and then it connects to that in exactly the same way. Nothing changed. Now, there is an interesting twist. Obviously, models are different. And Viktor's table that he just showed you is a perfect...
Perfect world.
No, it's actually a perfect example of how they are different. You saw there are capabilities in this list, and
Even if you
obviously-
will be switching back and forth here, you will even notice the difference between like
no, but
opening.
that's not like a capabilities difference.
Uh-huh.
That's difference in how they work. So there is smarter models. There are models that are better in reasoning. There are models that are better in code. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is different models have different APIs, if you wish.
Yes.
Some of them do only text. Others do text and pictures. The third do text and video. And there are different capabilities that should have been exposed. So this chat language model is an interface that sometimes we would want to cast down to a specific model to use a specific capability. What I'm trying to say is that Mistral, for example, have a feature that we are going to show next that no one else does. And, well, no one else exposes as a feature in LangChain4j, and that's guard railing. Because of, obviously, European regulation and what's not, it's not surprising that I have a way to say to Mistral, kind of go to a safe mode that I don't have out of the box and easily acceptable for other models. It makes sense. So what we're going to do now is, although it doesn't work, but it's okay because we're start to get a little bit short on time, I'm just going to ask it here, add guard railing to Mistral. And we'll see what it does. I know what it takes. It's one line of code. Let's see how the monkeys do. So it edits the right place. It edits model config, and generally it should just add one line. So we'll just see. And if not, I will just do like what he does and just show you the documentation. But we'll see. Oh, here you go. There now, look, it uses a subclass of our chat language model that is called chat model with moderation, and then it provides a model of how to moderate it. And airline moderation is a policy of forbidden topics. Isn't it nice, right? I mean, I don't want to chat about religion with my airline assistant, so religion will probably be here. And, well, that's a nice list, actually. You know what I mean. Right, so, and this...
Thorough.
Yeah.
Elaborate. Elaborate.
And appropriate. But this is kind of the cool part of it. Where do it? Where do it? Did it change?
It changed on the fly?
Yeah, it changed under my fingerprints.
Tips.
Yeah, tips, yes. It was here. Okay. Monkeys. So what does it do? Create model. Where did it go? Ah, okay. So it changed the API probably because the previous one was incorrect. But okay. So now it returns gathered change model with the base model and the forbidden topics. And the response, which is nice. Okay, it will eventually get to the right API, but if you want to see the right API, LangChain4j Mistral guard railing. Amazon Bedrock. That's a not very relevant question. Answer. Here you go. This? Yes. Here you go. Right. So there is an even easy way. There is a flag called save prompt that only exists on Mistral AI chat model, which is subclass of chat model. And this automatically will basically take all the stuff like politics, terrorism, and all this stuff, and kind of ban it from usage. And there is obviously the way to elaborate it and provide your own list, because maybe legalize is fine, so some kind of drugs is allowed, but terrorism definitely not. And what it does, the flag, the safe mode, is system message. What it does is just adding one line to the system message of not talking about harmful, unethical, prejudiced, and negative content. That's all. It's that simple. So basically, it's not really limited to Mistral. We have our system message right here in our AI model. Where is our AI model? Where is our AI model? No, like AI here. Yeah, here you go. That's our system message. It became larger and larger as we added more context. So we can just go and add this line here and get basically the same guard railing that we have out of Mistral model on any model at all. All right, 15 minutes. Viktor.
For me, I just like using, again, my Juni finally revived, and it suggested just to use this as a part of system prompt.
That's exactly what LangChain4j doing, but we have it in a one API call.
In LangChain4j?
Yes.
So in a way, how you would implement all the things that you need to do with your prompt and your request, you need to implement like sort of interface called advisor, or there's plenty of advisors. One of the advisors that we already used in this particular case is advisor that message chat memory advisor. So it will store some information about the context, user context, or like memory that we're trying to implement. Also, we use vector store chat memory advisor. We didn't use it in this particular case because it's kind of like it will store user information in the vector store, and after that retrieve it whenever you need to kind of like get back the session of this particular user, and it will be used here in Spring Boot. Some other things, implementing this type of like interceptors and doing something request, it's probably will be implemented here as well in Spring Boot. Is it still doing something? Yeah, so it's pretty slow, but it does something. We'll see at the end if it will finish to do whatever is needed. Now, we do have like how much? We have 13 minutes. So I would love to get people's like opinion about this, what they're thinking, what they're working on. Maybe something some questions, obviously.
Oh yeah. No, we have time just to like.
Or you wanna?
Yeah, no, it actually did.
Your monkeys did.
Yeah, my monkeys did. Here we go.
We're not doing anything, just like everything.
No, we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Here we go. Mistral AI chat model. That's exactly the subclass of the chat model. And safe prompt true. Here we go. Frankly, I loved the interface that it hallucinated much better. It was a pretty cool interface. Unfortunately, not existent. But this is actually what happens. Yeah. To the monkeys. Good job, monkeys. Good job, monkeys.
Yeah. What was your request that you asked with guardrail? I wanted to check if mine is working.
Add the guard railing?
Yeah, when you add this.
Just add guard railing.
No. In what exactly it prevents from saying in your case?
The hallucination one or the real one?
The real one.
The real one was.
Okay, so let's try it. So like the guard railing now it says like only airline program. So like okay, tell me Scala joke.
Yeah. Scala joke. Yes.
Will it work? No. See, it still kind of uses the.
Because oh my god, that was even worse than the first one.
Respectful and. You know what? You are piece of work here.
Okay.
Totally dumb.
Okay.
let's see if we can see. So it still stayed in
Are you scared to do that because the singularity is near? They will remember that.
Yeah, and I'm smart enough and know that there should be enough. There should be a lot of memory to remember everything. So
Exactly. No, I wouldn't do that.
you see, like we struggling with the different things, and it takes a lot of kind of like a try and error, and kind of like staying on top of the changes that coming in, so you would know like what's how to properly use this. So your skills of like a prompt engineer, designing like a perfect prompt, and as you can see here, there's two type of skills. One skill is solely of the prompt engineer, because he spent the time with the model, spent the time with the tool, so it's kind of like fine-tuned. And a reason for that, it was because you see this big prompt is just because we wanted to have this experience where get this stable-ish type of experience, so we can reproduce some of the things. And like how many times we try to different iteration, like 5, 7 times, to go from the one place to another. And again, thankfully to tools like LLMs, you will be able to get the analysis mode saying, hey, okay, stop doing what you're doing. Let's figure out why you were making such a mistake. What is not information? What information is not there? So all these things, all these the skills for this, they still will be there. So I think it just makes our job is more interesting, and staying on top of these things is actually opens like quite a lot of capabilities.
Yeah. You get to put monkeys to work.
Yeah.
All right, we have time for questions. Go for it. Repeat. Yeah, microphone will be nice. We can repeat the question, but microphone will be just easier. So the gentleman was there first, and then you're next. No, you're fine. Yeah, it's okay. We'll repeat the question.
About a Genie from JetBrain and
Windsurf.
Windsurf and Cursor.
And Cursor. All right, those are great questions. Hashtag.
Thank you.
Hashtag. We
have a
presentation
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
All right. So first, but it's very cool that you're doing it for a year already using a Python tool called LangChain. Now, LangChain4j, as you might guess, started as a port of LangChain from Python to a normal programming language. And the first API was a very Python-like. And over the last, I would say, couple of years by now, it switched to be very a cool one, very good one. Very Java first, all the builders, all the nice model that you saw. So it started LangChain, and now it's very far away from that. But the basic is the same. You build chains of LLM or model-related stuff. Plugin model, plugin vector database, plugin embedding mechanism, plugin whatever guardrails, etc., and build a chain. That's why it's LangChain. So that's one. Now, I'm not sure I understood your comment about that your model let you pick the tool. What do you mean by that?
From the prompt?
Yes.
When we write the prompt, so we have to select the tool. It's a RAG or a direct...
Is it part of your implementation, what you did? Okay.
Okay. So
we have for each tool a prompt to select it.
Oh, here we go. So generally we can do something like that, not with RAG, but with MCP servers. So you can see here that I can just ask, open a preview window, and it will figure out that it needs to use Puppeteer, or I just can go to Puppeteer commands and ask for start preview. That's a little bit the same. You can obviously also route it. Do I want RAG? Do I want this RAG or do I want that RAG? And you saw how it's very easily done programmatically, right? You just change the chain and it will go through different RAG retrieval for different use cases. So you want to build a tool that will let you select.
Sorry.
That will let you select, I want only information about United, or I want only information about Delta. Obviously, the results will be more precise, because you remember how it works. It just checks the vector, what it's closer, and it will prevent a lot of confusion, because if you ask about elite perks without clarifying which one, you will get a mix of both. Now, if we know that we're talking about Viktor, we need to show him United stuff, and if we're talking about me, you need to show me only Delta stuff. This is very easy to do programmatically. As we saw, we just build another chain with multiple RAGs. Now,
can I ask you also add one thing? So I think MCP will become a replacement for some of the capabilities that people do in WebRag, and simply because it's going to be standard protocol for interacting with tools, and it's not, you don't need to be involved with things like embeddings and all these kind of things. I swear I will die on this hill. So for example, what we're doing at Confluent, we have MCP server that allows me to go to my Kafka topic and get the data from Kafka topic and do something with this data from within my LLM. So in this case,
there is stuff that it's purely a RAG, like for example, your
that knowledge,
company knowledge base.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to be replaced by MCP.
You can have like MCP kind of like a search server or something like that. External search
You
for
already
your.
have it, and it's called RAG. So.
But in the RAG, you need to implement with these, the embeddings, vector stores, and all this stuff. But just like interact with this. So
Doesn't matter. You have to have vector database anyway somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Eventually, hopefully.
Yeah, eventually. So your last question: what are our experiences with those agentic code tools? There are a lot right now. I can name 4 lead ones on top of my head. It's the Windsurf that you saw. It's the JetBrains with Junie that you saw. Cursor is obviously, I think, the most known one.
That's Junie.
And the most popular one. And starting last week, VS Code Copilot has an agentic mode that is available for everybody. And it basically does exactly that with Copilot as the AI underneath. Now, you can deliberate which one exactly has this feature or doesn't have enough feature. In the end of the day, they are all pretty much the same, except of Junie. Junie is very different. Basically, Windsurf, Cursor, and Agentic Copilot in VS Studio do this. They have some additions on top of a model that eventually they delegate the questions. And the additions are system prompt that remind them that they are developers and need to write code, memories and rules that will keep them intact, and the better ones will inject reminders of the rules once in a while to make sure to keep it on track. Integration with tools. As you saw, I didn't touch anything while my monkeys work. Now, if I will fire up now VS Code with a Copilot agent, I will have to tap accept every time it wants to run my terminal, which is annoying, but not something inherently
But it's
different.
not a problem tool, it's more like a UX problem.
Exactly, right. So they are pretty much the same. Now, Junie is a very different beast. Junie is an agent that has LLM plugged into it, as open as opposite of just like a wrapper on top of LLM. It has a bunch of tools that are working together with LLM guidance. This is why you saw that it's a little bit slower, but it also generally generates much better results. It also has pretty unique options, like the work plan that it will always generate for you. Before it does something, it will always provide you with what it's going to do.
Here's an example of like we get the
the
guardrail,
plan, which is very, very cool. On the other side, it's much less conversational. They're working on add like a chat mode that you can ask questions about. Hey, let's talk about your plan. Do you think that this is right? Do you think that that is right? But generally, Junie just go ahead and do stuff. And this is kind of very different from what you saw, a very nice conversation that I had with monkeys in Windsurf. So basically, if I would say you want to keep tabs on the most important ones, Windsurf as the leader in this LLM, very good LLM wrapper, and Junie
as of March or like is it April 2025 yet, because all these things are changing constantly, and actually they have a Windsurf for IntelliJ, so now they are
also interesting stuff. Anyway, we are definitely out of time, and there was another question that it was the same. Thank you very much for sitting here for 3 hours.
And we will be here whole week. We're available for enhanced interrogation. Talk to us.
Yes.
Let's have a conversation, things like that. That's Baruch Sadogursky.
And that's Viktor Gamov.
As always, have a nice day. So I was told that this like a rating application has a bug. For some reasons, like only 5-star works, and unfortunately, other buttons are
So don't even bother with others.
Yeah.
Just go
so
for
just
5
like 5 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.